always good when you come back from vacation and people are still here. I'm glad that Pastor Bob Fritsch didn't scare you away, and I heard that things went well, and that he actually was nice to me, which was good to hear also. It was great to be away. We had a chance to go to North Carolina for a family reunion and a 50th birthday party. And we drove down there. The drive was about 11 hours without stopping. And it was interesting as we were making the trip through Pennsylvania, Virginia, down to North Carolina, how the speed limits fluctuated from 55 miles an hour all the way up to 70 miles an hour, and everywhere in between, with no rhyme or reason to why it was changing one way or the other. So of course, when you're driving that long, I had some time to think about the rules, the laws that are over us, and I began to ask myself the question, what made the drivers in North Carolina better drivers than the people in Virginia and Pennsylvania and New York that they could go 70 miles an hour? I mean, what was the reason behind it? I mean, after all, speed limits are about safety, right? It couldn't have been about speed traps or generating revenue, right? It couldn't have been at all. And then I came back and I read our gospel lesson where Jesus gets in trouble for breaking the law by healing the crippled woman on the Sabbath. And immediately all those frustrations that I've talked about already with our rules, with our leaders, with those who make the laws, crept back up. And I started thinking about the whole thing and the whole picture. And in addition to all these regulations we're constantly bombarded with the attempts to limit the size of our soft drinks, to the whole debate going on right now about stop and frisk, to all these unnecessary taxes and other ways that revenue is generated for government to have more and more things, I then noticed and looked that there's a whole bunch of ridiculous laws that are still on the books in New York State. For all the new laws that are created, they haven't addressed any of these other laws that probably don't have a place in our life anymore. For instance, did you know that a man could not go outside of the house with a jacket and pants that do not match? Some of you men may be getting arrested going home from church today. Or that you can't walk around on a Sunday with an ice cream cone in your pocket. It's okay Monday through Saturday, but Sunday you can't do it. And your donkey can't sleep in your tub. And here's one that I love. It's illegal to jump off the Empire State Building. Now, I want to meet the politician who made this one up, because I guess it's not bad enough that you're dead and flatter than a pancake. You need a ticket on top of that, too. And then my favorite one that I found that shows out the common sense that we're dealing with today is that it is legal to jaywalk in New York City, as long as you're not walking diagonally across the street. As funny as these things are, it's a reminder to us of how we seem to be on this speed train towards a destination in our lives and in our world today where our legalities, our rules, and our laws are completely superseding common sense. In the gospel lesson, we heard that Jesus was already teaching in the synagogue. He already had the stage. He already had the attention of everyone. He was there talking about the wonders of God, the wonders of the kingdom of heaven, when he notices the woman who's crippled for 18 years come in. And he makes a decision at that point. He makes a decision to make a statement about the healing power of God in relationship to the rules and the laws of God and the world around them. And he knows that if he heals the woman, he's going to stir up a storm. But he does it anyway. And he's not disappointed, because the leaders become completely unwound in their anger over the fact that he heals the woman on the Sabbath, that he breaks the rules. Forget the fact that an incredible miracle took place, that this woman who had been suffering for 18 years all of a sudden is healed. All they're concerned about are their rules and their laws, and the fact that nobody's respecting them or the rules that they have made. And this struggle sadly continues to happen in the house of God all too often. For me, it is so sad to see how there are many churches and church leaders who are constantly nitpicking to death their people because they're breaking the rules, they're not doing the right thing, instead of pointing to the healing power and the forgiveness of God. And I still, after all these years of being a pastor still cannot understand how there can be churches and their pastors who will not do a baptism or a wedding for somebody who's not a member, somebody they don't know, somebody they haven't seen in a while. Because that makes perfect sense. When they're finally coming back to the church, let's turn them away again. Instead of giving them an opportunity to be in the healing power of God and ignite a new fire, let's just slam the door once and for all. Right? And too often, people come to God's house, and they're constantly lambasted and browbeaten with guilt and condemnation instead of being made to feel comfortable and safe in the house of God. There's a beautiful and powerful analogy in the gospel lesson today as Jesus heals this crippled woman. We hear she was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. That's us. In so many ways, we're bent over, we're crippled, we can't stand up straight. We're bound by our frustrations with a world that often doesn't make sense. We sometimes, because of our own sin, our own frailty, our own inability, we can't walk the straight line. We can't stand up straight and do the right thing. And like the crippled woman, many of us are struggling with physical ailments that make life difficult each day. And Jesus knew exactly what he was doing when he healed the woman on the Sabbath in the house of God. He was making a statement that that's what life in the house of God is all about. It's not so much about the rules and regulations, it's about the healing power of God to set things straight. There should have been nothing but rejoicing in that synagogue on that day. For this woman who was bound so long was unbound, was freed, was strengthened. That's what sets apart the house of God from all the other powers, all the other institutions, all the other leaders that surround us in this world. Yeah, the law and the rules, they do serve an important place in our lives. They help us understand who we are and how we function and how we live in this world around us. But the laws of the world, and even the law of God, is always superseded by the power of God's love, forgiveness, and his healing. And so we come here with that same expectation of that woman who was healed. We come here to this house to find that Sabbath healing and rest, whether it's on a Sunday or a Wednesday or whenever it may be. And we come here with the expectation of that healing power of Christ. And we rejoice and we give thanks that as we gather here in word and sacrament, God always heals us.